You are now listening to
Likely to Dispute,
hosted by Monkas, Reed, and Tyler.
How's everybody doing? It's Cevan, aka the Monkas. Join with me today, as always, is Reed and Tyler. And this is episode 51 of Likely to Dispute.
We have a wonderfully fun episode today for you guys. We are going to do a look back at the 2025 rookie draft, going over the picks that were made at each slot of the first two rounds. But then we're going to give our opinions on if we redrafted today, who would be the pick at that slot. All of us filled out our top 24, so the first two rounds, and we're going to go over each slot and see if we have any big disagreements on who should be going where a year later. So we'll hand it back to host Monkas for the episode.
Yeah, this should be a fun one. Just emphasizing what Reed already said. 2025 redraft, this is all subjective information that we will be spreading. So let's just get into it. With the 101 last year, it was Ashton Jeanty. He was the consensus 101 going into drafts. And then obviously we'll get into what our opinions are going forward. So me and Tyler on the same page. We wouldn't make a change. Ashton Jeanty, running back for the Raiders. The only one different here is Reed with Jackson Dart, quarterback, going 101. So Reed, quickly, why would Dart be the 101?
Yeah, nothing against Jeanty here. I'll talk about him soon, but I want to emphasize just how good Dart was last year as a rookie. He was quarterback 8 from week 4 on. So when he became their starter, quarterback 8, again, in a super flex format, super valuable. And that includes 4 games where he did not play 100% of the snaps from various injuries. And I also wanted to note for him, obviously, when we talk about quarterbacks in fantasy, he was third among quarterbacks in rushing yards and second in touchdowns, again, in just 14 games and a little bit less than that when you factor in the time that he missed. And of note as well, he had really big splits when he was leading versus when he was trailing. 8 of his 9 turnover-worthy plays last year came when he was trailing. His catchable throw rate tanked when he was trailing, and his time to throw and average depth of target both jumped massively when he was trailing. So you're hoping that a Giants team that was picking high in the first round last year and then traded back up again to get Dart, you're hoping that there can be some improvements there, that he's seen more time ahead in the game that can make him play a little safer, because when he's trying to be Superman and do it all, he just can't, at least at this point in his career. So I think a slightly better Giants team with hopefully a little bit more healthy up in the dome area for Jackson Dart. I get it's against the grain here, but I don't have any problem taking a quarterback who is elite as a 21-year-old at the 101 in the redraft.
Yeah, big riser for Dart. I believe his ADP was early or mid-second. So jump into year 101, and I'm sure we'll talk about him shortly here for the rest of us. But Tyler, no changes for you and me. Just going chalk here.
I was going to say it's for good reason in my mind. When you think about Jeanty last year, the Raiders' offensive line was among the worst across the league last year, and obviously that did no favors to Jeanty, but they bring in a new head coach, and early in this offseason, they've really focused on beefing up that offensive line, and just improving the offense as a whole. So I feel like last year, Jeanty running behind that line was more or less rock bottom, hopefully for the next few years. And when they bring in the offensive-minded head coach and Kubiak and sign a big ticket free agent and Tyler Linderbaum, and then Mendoza 101 and the NFL draft in a month here. So I feel like last year is just Jeanty's floor for the next few years. And I still think he is an elite dynasty asset and plenty worthy of 101 here.
Yeah. Getting on to the second pick, the 102 was.
Are you going to give any opinions on Jeanty?
Nope.
Okay.
It was well covered. The 102 was Amarian Hampton, going to first round running back to the Chargers. The three of us, none of us have him here. I have Tedero McMillan, Reed, Jeanty, and Tyler also Ted McMillan. So, Reed, do you have any follow-up on Jeanty?
Yeah, I did want to make a couple of points. Yes, their offensive line was terrible. He was 82nd in yards per carry last year. Where do you guys think he ranked in rushing yards over expected per carry last season? Just given about 100 qualifiers for it, roughly.
32nd.
I was gonna say like 20th or something.
Try 73rd.
Okay.
So while he is, again, there's obviously big belief in the talent. You saw the flashes of the upside. He had a strong receiving profile again, something that he didn't have his last year at Boise State simply because he was just so good rushing the ball. But he
Mhm.
flashed the receiving upside, as everything Tyler mentioned. The O-line basically can't get worse. Offensive-minded head coach that's done good stuff. New quarterback. So again, I have him at 2 instead of 1, but I do think there is at least some pause that allowed me to put Dart at 101 instead of Genty.
There you go.
That's fair.
For me, Ted McMillan, he was the second receiver off our in our draft. But he showed he can be a true wide receiver, one in the league, over 1,000 yards, 70 receptions, 7 touchdowns. You hope whether it's Bryce getting better or they bring in a quarterback down the line, that his situation gets a little better. I know they made the playoffs this year, but uh, yeah, I just think he's an elite wide receiver one for a team with the potential to be a long-term dynasty wide receiver one, and getting that early in the draft is great. Tyler,
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Just over 1,000 yards. I when I look at McMillan's play style, I believe he looks like an alpha when I'm watching the games, and I think any other wide receiver help that the Panthers could bring in will just help be complementary to McMillan's skill set. So overall, I feel great about McMillan as, the 102 here in my redraft.
perfect. Getting on to the 103, we had Travis Hunter, uh, wide receiver slash DB. Again, none of us have the same pick. Me and Tyler, again, in lockstep with Jackson Dart. Then Reed getting the first tight end off the board early. Uh, Tyler and I will just touch on Dart real quick before you get to Loveland. But for me personally, I don't disagree with anything you said. I think this is just more of a preference and draft style here. Dart's a great quarterback for fantasy, at least. Um, Tons of upside. You know, another year or going into year two with an established quarterback. Hopefully, they get some more weapons, offensive line around him, and he continues to take a step. Just got to worry about his health, but he's a great dynasty quarterback. Tyler,
Yeah. My my hedge here with Dart and not putting him higher is I just worry about how replicable his play is from his rookie year. You mentioned the injuries and whatnot with him, and there were in season last year they wanted to tone down his running a bit just to um, I guess help with the sustainability of his play. And so I have a little bit of pause with that, and then anytime you bring in a new coach, a new system, I think that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing, but you could definitely see a change in his play style, change in the Giants' offense. And so I just, for me, I want to wait and see what that looks like before moving him too far up my board, especially to 101. But again,
I
we're split. This is 103 here, so I'm not talking like he's 110 or something like that.
I did want to note that is a good point, especially with who the Giants brought in at offensive coordinator. Like, real questions there. If you know, you know. But that is a very fair
Matt
point.
Nagy. Well, yeah. All right, Reed, you have potentially a big surprise here at the 103. Colston Loveland, Bears tight end. Go talk about him.
Yeah, week 9 last year was the big game he had against the Bengals where he just went crazy. I don't remember his exact numbers, but they won that crazy game, 85 total points scored, whatever that was. Basically, from that point on, he became a focal point of their offense, and he was top 3 in basically every advanced metric from that point among tight ends for the rest of the season. Targets per route run, yards per route run, first downs per route run, fantasy points per route run. Basically, if he was on the field, he was making a difference. His issue is that he was just 10th in overall target share among tight ends at that point. So despite being top 3 in every metric, not target share. So you're hoping that at this point, I didn't watch enough Bears games to comment on his blocking ability, but I'm guessing it's not god awful. You're hoping to see him on the field more often in one of those one tight end sets, get Kmet off the field a little bit more. So those routes just go up. You're seeing more more targets for Loveland, and he can continue to produce. And I did this from the perspective of a tight end premium league, since that's what we run. I think he is no doubt top 3 dynasty tight end right now. Arguably number 2 for me. I just think he's such an incredibly valuable asset in an offense that just traded away another major target hog in their offense, more design touches potentially, more quick hitting stuff for him, that I just think he's so very good at football. So I have him here. I would echo as well what Tyler said. We're splitting hairs here. Especially my top 4, I feel are very close together. And the guy I have at 4, I love a lot. So just a small advantage here to Loveland, but I do like having him at 103.
Yeah, he's great. Talk about him some more here. 104. The original pick was Tedero McMillan. That's where Reed slots him in right here. Tyler Emeka Igbuka. And this is where I have Colston Loveland. So just to piggyback off what you said about Colston real quick. Yeah, he's great. There's not much to add. He is a good blocker. He's just not as good as Komet. And as we all saw, the Bears ran 2 tight ends a bunch. That's not going to change. But yeah, his targets will definitely increase. So great pick there. And then Tyler, you can talk about Igbuka here at 104.
Yeah, when I think about Igbuka, I also think about Luther Burden, just because you can pretty easily compare and contrast how their seasons went, where Igbuka just started off so on fire. He skyrocketed on, any dynasty rankings databases, understandably after his first 5 weeks, and then he cooled off extremely. You could point to multiple different reasons for that. Whereas with Burden, who we'll talk about shortly as well, kind of did the opposite, started pretty slow and was, pretty not relevant, pretty irrelevant for most of the year until later in the season, playoffs, etc. But getting back to Igbuka, he ranks 2nd in yards per game, only behind McMillan. And he was, Igbuka was at 55.2 yards per game. McMillan was at 59.6, so that's about 4 yards per game difference there. There's about 7 between Igbuka and the next leading pass catcher, who's Tyler Warren. So I think people are pretty quick to write off what Igbuka did in the beginning of the year and just really only look at the second half of his year, which feels pretty unfair. I feel like if you're a first round pick, you burst onto the scene like that, the talent's there, and I do think you can chalk up the second half of the season to some degree of flukiness. So I'm all in on Igbuka still. I think he's great, and I think he's plenty deserving to be at the 104 spot for me.
Yeah, I think you made a good point about comparing him and Tet. They had almost identical rookie seasons, 1 less touchdown, about 15 less targets, and 7 less receptions and 80 less yards. So, yeah, it was just that back half of the season for Igbuka that kind of hurt his perspective. But I think they're very similar. Reed, you can talk about Tet here.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot else to add. I think the only 2 rookies had more uncatchable air yards last year than him, which was Egbuka, as I'll talk about in a little bit, and then Elik Ayumanor. Like the quarterback play at times was shaky at best. You're hoping that, again, any improvement, we're going into year 4 of Bryce Young, year 3 with Dave Canales, like you're hoping that you can continue to see some improvement there, as mentioned as well. Like any hope on the receiving core to take the attention away from him at all times. Like I think he's just an insanely good football player that can move around the entire formation. He had that big explosion against the Falcons this year, and that was the game all year he played the most in the slot. So he's such a great athlete that can play inside and outside, and I think he's someone that will continue to be really, really good, and was very much in consideration as high as 102 for me.
Well said. 105, the original pick, Travion Henderson. None of us have him in this spot. I've got Amarian Hampton, Reed has Egbuka, and Tyler Colston Loveland. Reed, you can just start with Egbuka to chime in on what Tyler said.
This is just to put some numbers to what was being discussed earlier. Weeks 1 through 5, Egbuka was wide receiver 4 in points per game, but he was wide receiver 20 in his expected points per game. So basically his usage, how much he was getting used, basically how much you'd expect him to score based on how much he's getting used. So wide receiver 4, wide receiver 20 in usage. From weeks 16 through 18, he was wide receiver 57 in points per game, but he was wide receiver 17 in expected points per game. So the usage was still there. As I mentioned in Tet's section, like the uncatchable air yards, he was lapping the field. Ayumanor and Tet were both just under 600 yards for uncatchable air yards this year. Agbuka was over 800 as the number one rookie. So surely there is some flukiness. His usage was still there. I think that Evans being gone is a huge thing for him. Obviously, he's taking up a ton of targets whenever he's on the field. So have no problem having him here. Was very close to Tet as well, but I did go with Tet because I think he's can just do a little more on the field than Ibuka can.
Yeah, and then we already talked about Colston Loveland. Any thoughts to add about him, Tyler?
Come back to me in a second. I'm trying to find a stat here
Yep.
that I had about Loveland.
I'll just talk about Hampton. This is lower than where he went. Obviously, he went at 102. I'm not selling any stock. He was injury riddled the majority of the season, at least half the season. But after the first 2 games, that's where he really found his groove, and then he got injured. But I think one underrated aspect of Hampton's game was his receiving ability. He caught 32 passes in just the 9 games that he played. Not going to do quick math, but if you stat that out, it's probably over 50 receptions, which is, I believe that'd be inside the top 8 running backs or so for total receptions in the season. So I like that part of his game. The Chargers have an abysmal offensive line that they need to address, but I'm not selling any stock in a first round running back of the actual NFL draft. So, Tyler, you find your stat?
No, I didn't. It's if I find it, I'll come back to it at some point. I'll interrupt politely, but you can move on. Colson Loveland's awesome. I have no problem with where Reed put him. I just had him a little bit lower here.
Perfect. Works out. Getting into the 106, Quinshon Judkins. I have him in the same spot. Reed, this is where you have Luther Burden, another Chicago Bear, and then one spot behind me, you have Amari and Hampton Tyler. Since it's the same pick made, I will start here. Um, I don't know that we were surprised Quinshon was as good as he was. Going into it, obviously he's on the Browns, he's on a bad team, but I think he just kind of caught a groove or, he did something. But bad team, good player. He showed his ability to hit the home run, and he was starting to get 20 plus touches in the first 7 weeks. Four of the first 6 games he played, he had over 20 touches, which is great for a rookie running back. So, you guys seem like you're a little bit lower on him, but
We'll get there.
We'll get there. We just talked about Hampton, so Tyler, do you want to chime in on him?
Yeah, and maybe I missed it. Reed, did you list Hampton yet?
No, I've not.
I did.
Okay. I couldn't remember if I was the low man or on him or not. Yeah, Hampton's tricky for me to rank here. He does have the first round draft capital, but with Kamani Vidal and Keaton Mitchell as well, quite honestly, I could see them shifting a little bit more to a committee approach this upcoming year. I can't say for certain I know that, and I probably can't ding him too much for that, but I I enter 2026 a little bit unsure of where Hampton stands after kind of an injury riddled year last year. It's worth noting in his first 5 games when or 4 games when he was healthy, he had yards per target about 6 in 3 of the 4 games. I know small sample size, so don't yell at me about that. And then in the last couple games that he came back, he didn't have a yards per target that eclipsed 6. So again, small sample, but maybe something worth noting. You could see a situation where someone like Keaton Mitchell, catches a few more passes, and those passes maybe would have gone to Hampton last year. So that's where I'm at with him right now.
Cool. 106, Luther Burden. Reed, talk about it.
Yeah, Luther Burden's a great example of how advanced metrics can kind of be skewed. Over the course of this season, especially early in the year, people were raving all about his yards per route run, his target per route run. But if you watch Bears games, he basically only come in when he was going to get the ball. He came in for a lot of design touches. He had that big flea flicker against the Cowboys. Like the fact that he was basically off the charts in those metrics can really screw with what the value of those is. But then on the back half of the season, from week 10 on, he was at least normally in the rotation. He was playing around or above 50% of the snaps each game. And in those weeks when he was, not on the field only for design touches, he was still wide receiver 7 in yards per route run, wide receiver 19 in targets per route run. And I think you're just looking at a guy who's supremely talented. There's no doubt that his emergence played a role in trading DJ Moore, at least a little bit. So I think he's someone that's going to continue to explode. And honestly, if we did this a year from now, I would not be surprised if we're looking at him as like a top 3 pick. So big fan. Not super surprised I'm the high guy, but I also would be totally understanding if you guys have him a little bit lower than I do, which obviously you do.
Yeah, this feels like the first pick that's more projection, which is completely fine. I'm in the same boat with you. Um, Luther's great. We'll see what he can do in an expanded role with more opportunities and playing time and whatnot. So getting into 107, this is where Cam Ward went. First quarterback off the board in the draft. None of us have him here. Tyler with Luther Burden, Reed, Tyler Warren. This is where I have Igbuka. So Tyler, just get started with Luther.
Not too much else to add from what Reed was saying. It's really hard not to get excited about Burden right now. So maybe the hype has gone a little bit too far, but I tend to think it hasn't. I think it's feels fairly appropriate, even though a little part of me is nervous about just how excited we're all getting for Luther.
I do agree that Cevan's point, this is the first pick that's like, okay, yeah, he can do more. Like everybody before him is
Yeah.
like, yes, we've seen it. We've seen a full season of it, but like again, I don't have I could absolutely see a world where he is in the top 3 of this if the year goes at a 75th, 80th percentile outcome for him this upcoming year.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah. And then me with Igbuka, kind of already talked about him, but very comparable rookie season to Tetaroa McMillan, and then Reed provided information about his something air yards, non-catchable air
Uncatchable air
yards.
yards.
Yeah. So there's a world where I don't even want to say half, 25% of those uncatchable air yards clicks, and he's the wide receiver 1 of this class. So he's got all the upside in the world. They already moved on from Mike Evans. Chris Godwin's another year older. We'll see what they do in the draft, but all signs point to him being, the number 1 target earner in that offense. And with a healthy Baker, hopefully, uh, he's great. And then Tyler Warren, second tight end that we've talked about. For you, Reed.
Yeah, I can't say I'm a huge Tyler Warren fan. I'm kind of surprised I'm the highest on him. But through week 10, when Daniel Jones suffered that first fibula fracture at some point, that overseas game against the Falcons, like through week 10, Tyler Warren was literally number 1 among all tight ends in football in total yards, receiving yards. Like he was started out to a hot start. He was doing everything we thought he was going to do. He was second in first downs per route run, which is a very sticky stat year to year that can find breakouts. But obviously the back half did not go well after Daniel Jones got hurt. Not just even before the full Achilles tear, like had truly fallen off production wise. But you're looking forward now. Potentially healthy Daniel Jones. I don't know. Obviously, I don't want to have any personal stake in that. But the Pittman's gone, Downs, and well, God, Alec Pierce is still there on a healthy contract. So I still think he could very much become a pivotal part of their offense. And I think people are forgetting just how coveted he was on the first half of the year, just because of everything that went down in the second half of the Colts season.
Yeah, I think this is an appropriate ranking for Tyler Warren. I think he's great. Yeah, well, I'll talk about him more later. The 108, this is the surprise pick in real time, Jackson Dart, making us all look like fools now. But this is where I have what?
There's some context here.
Shout out Schrader is the context.
Yep.
Yeah, at the time there was what looked to be a super quarterback needy team that didn't want Cam Ward, but then
Correct.
picked Jackson Dart. But
What you meant to say was a ball nowhere pick Jackson Dart.
yeah, no, I can't hate. I mean, I'm the one
Yeah.
stuck with Cam Ward, aren't I?
Oh, so
Yes.
we're saying stuck now. Wow, it's already
That's
already waving the white flag.
I'm
that's
stuck
tough.
with Cam Ward, but don't offer me a trade because I want to keep him.
Exactly. Yeah, so
Correct.
that sums you up pretty well.
But but yeah, Dart was picked about a round-ish above ADP, and
There's no way his actual ADP in the rookie draft was mid
I'm
two.
pretty
I
sure
was
it was
just
like 16.
no, I think it was like a late one.
Yeah, it was like
Here,
12, like
I
11 to
actually have it.
12.
I have it pulled up. Sorry, let me fill in some time. It was uh, sorry,
I don't think you're gonna find
this
it.
isn't Superflex rankings.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you're looking at mid two, that's not a super flex ranking.
He was at least a second. We'll call it a half round. We can agree with that.
Mm,
Either way,
sure.
it was a surprise at the time, and it turned out to be a great pick. Um, this is where I have Travion, Reed has Omarion, and Tyler has Heron Fanon. Sorry, that was terrible. I shouldn't have done that. Cut
Harold
that.
Fannin.
Yeah, junior. The only junior not listed on the screen. But we've already talked about Hampton, so Reed, you can just
Yeah, I
start
just
there.
have a couple of points. I liked the point about the receiving profile looking good. 12th in rushing yards over expected per attempt and 16th in his explosive run rate. Like he's got the juice, but I also echo Tyler's concerns about a potential committee. Keaton Mitchell is one of the fastest players fastest running backs in football, and Kimani Vidal absolutely proved he was worthy of a few touches per game at least. So, while I love the talent, the foot injury slash ankle injury was obviously a problem last year, and I think that opened the door to having someone help him out, a la Ken Walker. So, very big fan of the talent. We'll see how much of the total work share he gets this year and moving forward.
Yeah. And then for me, Travion, um, he he put together a very competent rookie season. He had over 1,000 total yards with 10 touchdowns, showed some receiving upside, and it really wasn't until he didn't get his first true, big volume game until week 9. So we're halfway through the season by the time, which I believe was a Ramondre injury. But we were over halfway through the season before he got, above 30-40% of snap share. Um, I like the upside. He's tied to a good quarterback with, you know, what some people think is a good offense. And there's a lot of schedule people out there. But I like I like Travion. That's all. Um, Tyler, this is where you have the second tight end off the board, Harold Fannin, over Tyler Warren. So
That's quite bold.
what yes,
Is it quite bold?
I think so.
probably. One was fifth round, one was first round, and they were both good.
I
Yeah,
believe
I don't
Harold was a third rounder.
Yeah, he was a third rounder.
Sorry, but
Show
Um
some respect.
better one's just on a better team with a quarterback, and the other one is just good.
the Yeah, they're very close. I think what separates them for me is going into the year, I was actually fairly low on Fannin compared to where he was going, and part of that was because I was a big believer in Njoku, thinking Njoku's still a good tight end, and so if I'm zooming out and looking at Harold Fannin and what he was able to do with an Njoku still being there, granted, I know Njoku wasn't healthy the whole year. I think that speaks to how impressive of a player Fannin is, just to be able to carve out that role and be very productive all year, even when going into the year, you didn't know if it was going to be, a situation like how it ended up for this year with Edwin Arroyo, where he wasn't playing too much. He was sitting back,
Elijah.
Elijah Arroyo.
or sorry, Edwin.
Shout out. Come on,
No.
Tyler.
Who knew Edwin Arroyo was getting mentioned on this pod? Not me. Um, but looking at rookie tight ends and yards per game ranked, Harold Fannin ranks in the top 10. And for rookie tight ends since 2000, that's above names like Gronk, George Kittle, Mark Andrews. Again, not saying Fannin is better than those guys, going to be those guys, but I do think it goes to show just how impressive Fannin was throughout the whole year. And I just can't stop thinking about how my perception of him changed so drastically over the year, and that was enough for me to put him here at the 8 spot, 108.
Yeah, their seasons were pretty close to identical in terms of just raw stats. I don't blame you for putting one above the other.
I
Just
have him I have him back to back for what it's
yeah,
worth.
I don't blame
Spoiler
you.
alert.
Sorry.
All right, getting into the 109, the original pick, Caleb Johnson. We can call it the biggest bust of the first round. This is where me and Tyler have Tyler Warren, and then Reed has Harold Fannin. So very tight end friendly in the back half of this first round. Um, Reed, you can just start it with the Fannin Jr.
Yeah, I don't have a ton
ranking.
else to add. He had the third best rookie season for any tight end since 2020. So he was really good. He was going to continue to be good. He's elite after the catch. A lot of design touches. Do have some pause. Stefanski was obviously known as a big tight end guy. He's now out. Monken is in, who still has a good reputation with tight ends from Baltimore, but at least some concern, at least for the quarterback situation as well. But like Tyler said, great player, great rookie season, probably underrated what he was able to do. So big fan, happy to have him here at 109, considering I got him at 402.
Yeah, but both these players are great. Tyler Warren, Harold Fannin, Colson Loveland, great rookie tight end class. Um, there's yeah, the only thing that's different is their situations. The talent's there with both guys. If we're doing a redraft, I mean, you put one at 108, one at 109. I don't really care. Tyler,
Yeah, not too much else to add. When that receiving yards per game stat I cited, Fannin and Warren are back to back in that as well. So
yeah.
I don't have too much issue if
Uh,
people want to switch those two.
yeah, a lot, I will say. I know, and we play fantasy, but the Browns had a negative game script the majority of the season, especially when healthy. The Colts were dominating a lot of games, and we saw a lot of Jonathan Taylor dominated games. So just a little nugget in there.
That's like if the
Um,
season ended after 8 weeks, maybe, but
Colts were Super
yeah.
Bowl champions after 8 weeks, 9 weeks
yeah.
actually, because they beat the Falcons.
Here we have the 110 Matthew Golden. Um, probably the third worst pick of the draft of the first round. We'll get
There's only
into the
12 picks in the first round.
correct, so they have to be ranked. Anyways, this is where I have Luther, Reed has Travion, and Tyler has Quinshawn, which we have talked about all of them. I will go first. Luther Burden, great. I feel like this is more of a reasonable spot when you take, heavy projections out of it. Everybody's in on Luther. Great talent, great underlying metrics on a great offense with a great quarterback and a great head coach. Shout out Ben Johnson. Oh, okay. Got that off my chest. Tyler, you can go over to Quinchon Judkins.
Yeah, I have him at the 110 here. Similar to, I mean, him, Hampton, and Henderson are all kind of in a bucket of difficult to rank for me right now. Maybe that's for everyone. I don't know, but um, I had him a little bit lower than you didn't have him yet either, did you, Reed?
I do not have Judkins yet.
Okay, I didn't think so. Um, the injury is the biggest part for me. He was great when he was on the field. I with these gruesome running back injuries, you don't always know how it's going to be after those injuries. So not a lot of I don't know. I'm pretty lost on Judkins, and I did not spend a lot of time truthfully d looking at his profile for this 110 rank here.
Yeah, I think his injury was a dislocated ankle that came in week
Yeah.
16 or 17. So late season injury to a running back on their ankle, not great. But I don't think you can deny he's a very explosive player. Great guy. Maybe not a great guy.
I
Sorry,
was
this is
gonna
getting
say,
lost.
what are we
Tra
talking about? There's a
Travion.
reason he.
Yep, Travion Reed.
Yeah, Trevion was had a weird year. Seventh most rushing yards over expected, fifth most per attempt. But obviously, there was a reason that the Patriots were not playing him more. And for everything he was kind of billed out to be as a pass protection guy, he did not grade out very well in pass protection. So honestly, I don't really know what to do with him. Ramondre is still under contract for 2 more years with the Patriots on a considerable extension. They used him significantly more in the playoffs. I mean, Henderson barely played in the back end of the playoffs. So honestly, I don't really know. I think he's still a good player, but I think he's uh, worse than the underlying metrics would probably indicate, at least in the Patriots' eyes, and that will obviously affect his fantasy value heavily. So I have him here. I also agree that I didn't really know where to put him, honestly.
I just to the Ramondre point, and I can bring this up again, I guess, when I talk about Henderson. But not only is Ramondre under contract, Ramondre's good too. It's
Ramondre
not
is
like,
actually very good.
yeah, he's not just some veteran scrub who's taking, who's just spelling rookie backs. He is a good running back. So
And I think people were really fast to call him the veteran scrub that just is going to be in Trevion's way for the first 6 weeks or whatever, and then just fall out. And that was absolutely not the case. Even when Henderson was very good, when Ramondre was out, Ramondre came back and continued to play well and take his spot back.
yeah,
So
exactly.
All right, and then getting into the 111. This is where Tyler Warren went. This is where I have another tight end, Harold Fannin, who we've already talked about. And this is where you both have Scam Ward, who notably has fallen for all of us. So uh, I think I've already talked about Harold Fannin, so you guys can just go back and forth on Cam.
I'll just say first before I let Tyler slobber over Cam, I think that the fact that he's sitting here at 111 after the statistical rookie year that he had is a testament to the fact that we all actually still believe, well, sorry, not all of us, that at least two of us still believe in the talent. You believe in some form of coaching upgrade, maybe not with Saleh, but definitely with Dable, what he's been able to do with quarterbacks and development there. Like, I think there's a lot of belief there, almost in like a Genty-esque way where you believe in the draft capital, you believe that the flashes that you saw were real, and that something more around him will bring it out of him. And I am of that opinion as well.
Yeah, couldn't agree more there with Cam. And I think during the course of the second half of the season last year, he turned into a better NFL quarterback, slightly better in fantasy, but I do think NFL quarterback wise, he was much better in the second half versus the first half. Just two simple stats here. Cevan, do you know how many interceptions Cam Ward threw before their bye in week 10?
6.
Sick. Wow. Did you actually know that, or are you looking at his
I,
profile?
I'm staring at his profile.
Oh,
Why would
damn.
you
Well,
admit that? You should have just been like, yeah, I knew that.
okay. Well, I'm sure you'll see then after the bye week in week 10, he only threw one interception in week 14 there. So I know interceptions aren't, a one-to-one correlation of how good of a passer
Yeah.
someone is. And then you love talking about Cam Ward's career high in touchdowns. So he tied his career high in passing touchdowns from week 14. He actually set his career high passing touchdowns at 2 in week 14, and then he tied that career high for the next 3 weeks, Savon. So
Yep.
that's some great growth, and I know you love seeing Cam Ward set career best.
Yeah, I'm to be. I'll talk more about Scam when we get to him, but I want the record clear. I'm not out on Scam. It's just fun to troll, and he actually does have a very hilarious fumbling quirk that he just finds a new way to fumble every week, and it's always funny.
Well,
Uh,
if they get Will Levis out of the room, that should help out with that.
Potentially. All right. To close out the first round of the 2025 rookie draft, we had Jaden Higgins, who we all knew was going to happen at the time. Shout out Trent, Iowa State legend. Yeah, this is where I have Cam Skattebo. I believe, oh yeah, I am the first one to have Skattebo. Reed has Quinchon, who we have already talked about, pretty far behind where I had him, still at 106. Then Tyler, another big projection pick with Facial Tootin. Reed, you can touch on Scattic Quinshawn.
Yeah, I don't have too much else to add. I would push back. I think that the explosion, the explosive plays were not really there. The success rate was not there. But given what he was working with, he was 21st in total rushing yards over expected and 35th in over expected per attempt. So there is some hope there, kind of in a Genty way, where the actual results were not good, but potentially with more surrounding him, which again, he's probably not getting a quarterback this year. So, you know, how much can you actually expect to get better coming off a serious injury? Basically, no receiving profile to speak of. I am understandably below consensus. I figured I'd be below consensus on him and have been since the draft. So, not my favorite guy as far as the profile.
Yeah. And then Scatterboo to close out for me. I just think, I mean, he was an older prospect, but I think we kind of took for granted what he did at Arizona State. And then he came to the NFL and pretty much just I think we overlooked him. Now, granted, he had a gruesome foot injury, but for PPR purposes, he was awesome. Um, I don't know how many points per game he averaged if you take out the game he got hurt and didn't play in, but he didn't score under double digits. Even in the game, he did get hurt. A lot of receptions. Um, so I think he was just worthy of still being, or maybe not still, but ending up in the first round. Um,
His his PPR points per game last year was 15.96.
yeah, that's awesome.
And I'll just go on the record though and say he is not even coming close to touching that again.
That's
Personally.
that's fine. Um, well, you can get into, I think this might be the most surprising pick of the first round, Bashal Tutin, over a round jump from where he went strictly off projection. So let's hear it, Tyler.
Yeah, I also know I have Tootin above Travion Henderson. I think that speaks to how much I believe in each of these guys respectively. If you guys didn't hear the last episode, we did some around the horn uh type action and
Company man.
that's right. And I told these guys off air that I kind of talked myself into Tootin, and I don't think I'm entirely lying there. I somewhat did when I was looking at him again. But the spark notes from last week are I'm not worried about Chris Rodriguez, not worried that he was with Liam Cohen at Kentucky, not worried about the money. And then Tootin, he ranked above some of his higher drafted rookie counterparts in yards per attempt and yards per target. And so um, I just, I don't, I see a clear open runway here for Tootin, and I don't see any clear red, yellow flags that I should be ranking him any lower here. I'm aboard the hype train, and I don't, if I think Reed's right there too. I probably is coming up in the next few slides for him, but I'm totally fine with putting Tootin at 12 and standing on that. I don't think it's too hot of a take when you consider uh, the rest of the players in this range.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to. I'll save my Tootin thoughts for when we get to him, but let's. That wraps up the first round of the 2025 draft. We are now going to start with 201, which was infamously Emeka Egbuka, who we've all ranked inside the first round. This is where I have Scam. This is where Reed has Cam, one pick behind me, and then this is where Tyler has Travion. Um, we've talked about all these guys already. I'll just kick it off. I'm not out on Cam Ward. Um, I just think this is probably a more appropriate draft slot in hindsight, obviously. That's my extended analysis. Reed, Scatterboo, first pick of the second round.
Yeah, I think that if Scadaboo wasn't coming off, didn't have the injury that he did have, I think he'd probably be in contention for the second running back in this draft. With the like up near Hampton, I would say like in the mid to late one, because he really was, again, from his profile at Arizona State was I agree was kind of overlooked, but like the receiving work was crazy. Like he had a ton of receiving work at Arizona State, and that translated directly to the NFL. He had a ton of receiving work. Like the raw rushing numbers, like the explosives, the success rate, like those were not great. The Giants' offensive line was not great, but he was getting all the work consistently. He was getting consistently the receiving work that he was getting at Arizona State. As I mentioned, top 10 in points per game this season, 15th in expected points per game. So the injury holds me back. Draft capital at fourth round, I believe, was not something that makes you feel super confident in him moving forward, especially given the rumors of Jeremiah Love at 5. So I think there's at least some cause for concern. But if he was not coming off a bad ankle injury, I feel pretty confident he'd be like a 108, 109 guy for me. So yeah, no, I can't say I'm a huge fan moving forward just because I don't know how it comes back, especially for someone who's older. But can't speak enough about the rookie year that he did post.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said. Yeah, he'd probably be right around that 106, 107 for me had he, not gotten hurt. Um, Tyler, can you talk about Travion without bringing up Bashal Tutin or saying negative things?
He's not
I
allowed to
was
say
just
negative things. He's given his opinion.
Well, I was just thinking, I do feel like I framed most of these rankings in a negative light. Like even going back
Yes,
to 103, I was like, yeah,
yes,
Jackson's art, is that play style really replicable? So, uh, I mean, it's kind of ironic though, because I don't have a lot to really. Travion Henderson's good. He scored his touchdowns in bunches last year. He had his 4 best games were all games where he scored 2 touchdowns and like yeah, no duh, the games he scores touchdowns are going to be his best games, but I yards per carry were up and down throughout the year and just like we love Luther Burden for the way he was used in the playoffs. The Patriots made a deep playoff run, of course, and Henderson wasn't necessarily the biggest part of that. So I am a bit worried about the outlook. I do really like Ramondre Stevenson, but Henderson's still a solid back. I mean, I have him at 201 here, so I'm not saying, Bill Krosky Merritt is better
yes.
or anything
Okay.
like that. So
Not yet, at least.
I'm gonna ask you some questions. This is gonna be Tutin versus Travion. Yes, we're going off the rails. So, uh,
I'll
Travion,
I'll make a
no,
board bet with you.
okay. Well, hold on. Total yards, Travion had about 1,000 more total yards, 5 more touchdowns,
Hmm.
and almost 1.5 yards more yards
Hmm.
per carry, 25 more receptions.
I just said you were asking a question.
Yeah, so you do all that, and then you project Tootin to either be Travion or what? I'm lost at the Travion versus Tootin thing it seems a little crazy to me.
What is stopping Tootin right now? Just that's my question to you is what is actually
LeQuint Allen
stop?
was better in the pass catching role than Tootin.
Okay. Then we're talking
Chris
about LeQuint
Rodriguez has more
Allen.
investment than Bashal Tootin.
Come on now.
It-
That's just not true.
he does. He makes about $9 million more than
Oh, so
I,
Ashton Jetty doesn't have a lot of investment in him
I
because
was
he's
just gonna say
draft pick.
because he
Come on,
makes
man.
$35 million.
Chris Rodriguez is making more than Tyler
Arguing
Shuck.
arguing the salaries of one player who's a rookie is a bad argument. Monkas, I was mostly on your side until you said that, and now I'm out on you.
You can be out on me. That's fine.
It's really easy to look at their raw yardage total from last year and say, okay, Henderson was better. But looking forward, I see a harder path to elite fantasy production for Henderson versus Tootin, and that's just where I'm at right now. Now,
Potentially.
if
So
the
wait.
if the
Are you in on Travis Etienne?
hard to say. I haven't looked at I haven't I haven't done my running back rankings yet, so
Monkas, I do want to note, I obviously have Henderson ranked ahead of Tootin, but take out the 3 games where Henderson was playing without Ramondre, which
yeah,
will again be
exactly.
his default this year because Ramondre will be there. Like he had Oh God, I don't want to do this mental math. He had 80 something yards, 150 yards, and then 93 yards in those 3 games. And then I believe in Ramondre's first game back, where he still took a good portion of the work, he had another 80 something yards. So like you take out those games, which will not be his default situation this season, and I don't think it's that much of a stretch to say that Tootin can replicate Henderson's with Ramondre production.
I'm not out on Tootin. I'm in on Tootin, but you and me are on the same boat. It's just I don't know what we're
It,
expecting.
it's
Are we saying
it's in the
Tootin
it's 100% within the realm of outcomes that Tootin outperforms Henderson, and it's probably a lot higher chance than you are giving it, I would say.
a lot higher chance? I don't know what chance I would give it.
Okay,
I'm
so
not s-
if 100% of the time, what percent of the time do you think Tootin scores more points per game than Henderson does, assuming neither of them get hurt this season?
in 2026
Like, what percent of the time does
with the
Tootin outscore
information
Henderson?
the information we have now, it's probably 65.
That Henderson outscores Tootin.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
so
probably
you're
what
saying
I'd
there's
bet.
still a 35% chance that Tootin outscores Henderson, and you're going balls to the wall like it's in another universe.
I'm not going balls to the wall.
Well, you just said you don't get it. 35%
No, no,
chance
no, no, no,
is
no.
perfectly fine for Tyler to take the
It's
stance on.
it's just super aggressive when we're going off someone who had 400 yards and was very inefficient.
He was very good in his role, though.
But what was his role? That's what
I
he
will
didn't
talk
even
about it when
have
we
a
get
role
there. I'll talk about it when we get there. I haven't talked any Tootin stuff yet this year, so on the pod.
to to all
I
right,
will.
202 Colston Loveland, one of the better picks in the overall
Shout
draft.
out Swirl.
Yeah. This is where I have Travis Hunter. I believe I'm the first person to have him here
You are
or to have him ranked. Yep. And
the
then
oh, good, good.
Reed with RJ Harvey and Tyler with we're getting shut tonight. We're getting shut
I
tonight.
am switching my pick. I have Tootin at 204, and I'm switching him and RJ Harvey at 204 and 202.
That's a good call. I
I
was
don't
gonna
know.
say,
I don't know why I have Harvey here. I don't like Harvey at all.
yeah.
Okay, well,
It was the little cam on your shoulder.
yeah. All right.
Sorry.
Well,
Big cam on my shoulder.
I'll quickly talk about Travis Hunter. I think we know less about what his role is going to be now than we did going into his rookie season. I think there's more skeptics now that he's actually going to be more a defensive back. In the 1 game sample size, he was really good right before he got hurt, but that's all we have. This is just a clunk of players that I think he still has the highest upside of the guys remaining, and that's where he fell for me. So,
I don't know how that's possible, but I do think it's a good point that we somehow know less a year later about what he's going to do in 26 than we did in 25.
yeah. So that's awesome. Tyler, you want to talk about we're getting shut tonight? We're getting shut tonight.
Yeah, Tyler Shuck at the 202 here. It's just positional value for me here. Tyler Shuck was solid last year. He's obviously not super young or a budding superstar, but he'll give you a good solid floor at the QB position. And I think that's enough to put him here at the 202. Just a safe pick and uh, a guy that I was good putting here.
Yeah, just to briefly talk about Shuck, I think he uh not similar to Luther, but I think if we did this a year from now, there is a real world where Shuck is a first rounder in another redraft.
A
He
first
was
rounder is not that big of a jump from 202, though.
correct,
My
but
argument
Yeah,
was that Luther could be a top 3 pick.
I I I understand. Just expectations when he got drafted, we were all laughing in the group chat. And
That's
then
true.
the last 6 games, he was I'm not gonna look it up, but he was probably a quarterback round 1 in the last 6 games. He was good. And then a full offseason of him being the starter, um,
that
in another year under Kellen Moore. I
let's
think
just
he can
say,
be
and the offense should be upgraded as well
exactly.
with
So
so
I know it's not a bold take, but expectations in 2025 to another year from now, uh, he was he was definitely not supposed to go where he went in our draft. So, yeah, why don't you talk about Big Two?
Just a second. I'm looking up here. Tyler Shuck, week
We
12 to
get
week 18.
we
Uh,
getting shook tonight. We getting
week
shook tonight.
12 to 18, he was QB 8.
Come on, do we? Okay, so even if you include his bad game,
Well, you said the last 6 weeks.
yeah, that'd be 13 through 18.
Oh, okay. 13 through 18, QB 7, 6, 7. Nope, 6. Final answer.
Oh,
There you go. So yeah, he was good. I know the opponents were really, really bad in that stretch, but still, he was a rookie quarterback with a very, very lackluster supporting cast, and he was found a way to be productive.
uh, what receiver would be best for Shuck in this year's draft, Cevan?
Uh,
Just one
Lemon.
in. Okay, that's all.
We still looking up Tootin?
No, sorry. I was waiting for you guys to get done with that. I have my toot and stuff.
Move on.
Are you going to talk about him?
Well, I didn't. Where are you handing it to me?
Yes.
Okay, sure. Tootin's role was, I think the biggest thing for, oh, I talked about it a little bit around the horn. Like Rodriguez, always a big guy. He's going to take goal line carries. Tootin was the goal line back last year. Like, I don't care what his size was. They trusted him around the goal line. He was 14th in overall success rate, 15th in first down rate among running backs, all running backs last year. Like, he succeeded in a role that you would not expect someone of his stature to succeed in. His explosives in college were among the best in the class. Yes, he had fourth round draft capital in a very deep running back draft, which could probably be applied to Scadaboo as well. But again, you're not signing Chris Rodriguez and be like, yep, take 18 carries a game. Like, there's going to be, I'm not saying that week one Tootin's going to be that guy. He might not be. He might be. I don't know. But by the end of the year, I know who my bet is on to be getting the lion's share of the work. And I think Tootin has that spot. I don't know. Again, I don't know why I put RJ Harvey here. They're basically in a very similar situation. And I like Tootin way more talent wise and age wise and offense wise and everything. So this is just bad ranking for me. But I agree that I would not put Tootin over Henderson, but I see the world where that happens, and I don't think they're nearly as far apart as you portray them to be, Cevan.
It's just all projection, and like I said, Tootin
Yeah, but you're
fans.
also projecting Henderson to get a lot more work than he did last year when Ramondre was healthy, which he didn't. What percentage of the snaps do you think Trevion played in the AFC Championship game last year?
None.
He played 6% of the snaps and had 3 touches for 5 yards.
Yeah, that's
Like,
fine. We don't play fantasy in the postseason.
no, but you're talking about, oh, it's all about projection. Well, look at this dude in the playoffs had 9, 12, 3, and 9 touches. And you're saying this guy's like a stud. It's like, yeah, sure, he had some good spots, but a lot of those spots were when the guy who's starting ahead of him was out.
That's completely fine. It's just
So I don't
we
want you ragging on this guy for projection when Henderson's projection is just as much of a projection as Tootin is. But I agree, draft capital is important, and he was drafted a lot higher. His explosives were a lot better last year, so that's why I have him ahead. But I don't want to hear you ragging on Tootin for projection when Henderson's the same thing.
That's fine. Let's move on. 203. This is where RJ Harvey went. Uh, Thorne aggressively tried to trade up for him a bunch, and he successfully traded a future first to acquire his third Bronco. So shout
Shout
out
out me.
Thorne.
Shout out
Shout
me
out
for getting
you.
the first.
There you go. And this is where Travis Hunter falls for Tyler, and Tyler Shuck falls for Reed and I. Think we already talked about Shuck a bit, but again, starting quarterback at least for one more season. He's older, but works out for Sumner specifically because he loves starting quarterbacks, and this is a good one to have. So, in hindsight, great pick. But yeah, we all laughed at it, just so you know.
I wasn't laughing at Sumner's pick. I was laughing at the Saints picking him. I get why Sumner
No,
picked him where he did.
no.
He
No,
picked a
no, no.
potential starting quarterback in the end of the second round.
No. It was the middle,
What pick was it?
207.
Okay, sure. I don't have anything else to say on Shuck. I don't think he has that much more upside. He's 27 already. But I think he's good. I think he's solid. I agree with Tyler. I think he's a floor guy, not a ceiling guy. And for the second round of a rookie draft, that's perfectly fine.
I agree. Tyler Travis Hunter, the 102 of the or the rookie draft, falling all the way to 203.
Yeah, I've said it before. I'll say it again. I find the Jags offense really compelling right now. Just seeing how that'll evolve this offseason. I will just note that any speculation about Hunter's role and what it'll look like, I think it's a little bit overblown right now, just because the teams aren't at the facilities and they're not running practices right now. So anything about Hunter's role and what it'll be is mostly just hearsay, in my opinion. And so until we get to July, August, September, and hear more solid reporting on that, I'm not taking that. I'm not taking any speculation too seriously right now. So, but yeah, I'd be lying if I said there wasn't some risk right now with Hunter, but we did see some elite play from him last year, and I'm inclined to believe if the Jaguars spent capital to trade up and get him where he was at, that they still plan to employ him on both sides of the ball there. So he's a great athlete, and I still feel good about him, but with the injury and some speculation about where he'll be playing where he'll be playing, or sorry, what side of the ball he'll be playing next year. I didn't want to move him up too far, so I actually had him lower than you, Cevan. So
Yep. All right. 204. This was another steal in the draft. Shout out all the Bears that were stolen. We'll get to another one later, but Luther Burden drafted at 204. This is where Reed and I agree on Bashal Tutin, and
No,
this
this
is
is
where
my
our
RJ Harvey now. Remember, I
oh
switched
yeah,
him.
yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry. Uh, we've already talked about Tutin, so we're not going to talk about him anymore. And then you two both have RJ Harvey, which is just one pick later than where he actually went. Um, so yeah, Tyler, you're a Broncos fan, so I'm sure you want to talk about RJ Harvey.
uh, we've seen Sean Payton over the years and how it it's just a Sean Payton thing not to rely on one running back for most of the year, for most of a game. And so Harvey was totally fine last year. I just don't know how much more he really has to his game. They brought back J.K. Dobbins, who's recovering from injury. And I think I Harvey was middle of the pack when looking at running backs drafted in the second round since 2015 in several stats, including yards per reception, um, yards per rush attempt there. So I'm pretty neutral on Harvey myself. I would squarely take Bashal Tutin over him. Just I know Reed was talking about those two. But yeah, 204 for Harvey, like you said, pretty similar to where he was drafted at last year.
Yeah, just one point. I do think it's wild that J.K. Dobbins has played 6 years and he's only 2 years older than rookie RJ Harvey. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. Um, RJ Harvey thoughts, Reed?
Yeah, I just don't think RJ Harvey's very good. I think he's someone that was drafted as a 23-year-old prospect, and you hoped that he could come in and make an immediate impact, and he came in and was a below league average player, running back. He was 87th in rushing yards over expected, and 88th in per attempt, 61st in explosives, 64th in success rate, 67th in stuff rate. Like he just was not very good. And they brought back Dobbins. It was a lot of rumors that they were trying to go for someone bigger. I don't think Bo Nix is very good, so I'm not a huge fan of the offense. As Tyler said, notorious for committees. Like I just don't think he's very good. And I don't think they really want to use him as much as they did, but Dobbins got hurt again, so they needed to. So I would fully expect to see RJ Harvey lower on this list. Sorry, I could see him being a lower on this list this time next year.
Yeah, middle of the second round. We're arguing over small things, but I'm sure I'll talk about RJ Harvey here soon. Not yet. Uh, 205, Cleveland Harris, aka Trey Harris. Um, one of okay, never mind, I can't say it yet. But very disappointing pick. I do remember uh when Trey Harris got picked by the Chargers in the real draft, me and Reed specifically were thought that was a cool spot. And then uh when Deshaun drafted him, thought that was a steal. But uh I don't know if any of us even included him. We can probably get to that
We did
later,
not.
but very bad pick. Actually, I did not know he had 30 receptions, which is news to me. But besides the point, this is where I had Matthew Golden, another fellow Charger, Aronde Gadsden for Tyler, and this is where Travis Hunter falls for Reed. So Reed, you can start it off since we already talked about Hunter.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot else to say. He's a high upside. Uh, Biggest difference between floor and ceiling of anybody in the draft right now, which probably was applicable as well at draft time. But I am still a really big believer in the wide receiver talent, but the receiver room is just so stacked. So I just don't know, will he ever have a chance to truly get a full-time role that leads to a fantasy successful role for him? And I don't know. Still love the talent, but big we'll see here. So I have him the lowest, but I still am a fan of the talent.
Yeah. This is where I have Matthew Golden, who got drafted at the 110. Um, yeah, I still see the upside. He was a first round receiver. They got rid of um Romeo Dobbs, but yeah, his rookie season was very, very underwhelming to say the least. Had no touchdowns in the regular season, under 30 receptions, under 400 yards. Uh, so maybe with the departure of Romeo, we'll see some an expanded role. Sandy, if you are listening to this, I did text you a week and a half ago and you still haven't responded. Would love to talk
He's
about,
not texting you back. He's probably not going to listen to this, to be fair.
yeah, would love to talk about Matthew Golden. So, Tyler, OG2, uh, notably the highest on us. That's fine, obvious reasons. Not too far off, but why in the middle of the second?
Well, I do think I could separate being a fan of Gadsden. Uh, I can separate that from owning him on my dynasty team here. Since 2000, Gadsden ranked top 10 in yards per reception last year at number 10. And then you bring in Mike McDaniel, who, you've seen discourse on how Mike McDaniel made Jonnu Smith great, Darren Waller great. And so I love the fit with McDaniel and Gadsden. I don't think any signing like Charlie Kolar is particularly worrisome. In fact, I think that's a great compliment to Gadsden's game because Gadsden is not a great blocker, whereas Kolar is a very solid blocker. So I believe bringing in someone like Kolar is an indication that they know who Gadsden is and they know his strengths are in the receiving game. So I really think they're going to let him flourish this year. Maybe I'm wrong, but I have no problem putting him this high.
Fair enough. 206. I'm the lowest on RJ Harvey, and then Matthew Golden for both of you. This was the original Cam Scatterbo pick, who we already talked about. So RJ Harvey, yeah, similar to you guys, he had, I just looked, I forgot already, but I think it was 7 games under 10 total rushing yards, which is not good. Yeah, they picked him a lot earlier than expected in the draft, but that didn't come to be anything. He was only super relevant when J.K. Dobbins was out. So we'll see. More definitely going to be a committee there. If he's, the 1A, 1B, we'll see what that looks like. But still, middle of the second round, that's if you're getting that, that's fine for a rookie draft. Um, do you guys have anything good to say about Matthew Golden?
No, basically the same thing. For me, there's a gigantic teardrop here after Travis Hunter for me to Golden. The most projection pick I'll have. Like, you just hope that there's something there. Like, he didn't catch a touchdown until the very end of the year. Dobbs is gone. You just hope that there's something there. I picked a projection and a really good offense and hope for the best.
Yeah, same thoughts.
Same thoughts. Got nothing to add, Tyler?
I'm in the same spot. How many more thoughts am I supposed to have?
I don't know. Are you in or out?
I've never been a Golden guy myself, and I really liked Christian Watson last year and what he did in a limited season. So of the Green Bay pass catchers, I prefer someone like Christian Watson at price or even Tucker Kraft as well. But that's not this conversation. But I'm generally out on Golden.
Perfect. Get into the 207, the original pick being Tyler Shuck. We getting Shuck tonight. We getting Shuck tonight. And this is where we have our third bear featured so far. Shout out Ben Johnson. Kyle Monangai for Tyler and I, and then OG2 Aronde Gadsden the second for Reed. Reed, since we already talked about OG, you have any other thoughts on him?
Yeah, I think Tyler misrepresented the Charlie Kohler signing. I think that's bad for his value because that means he's going to continue to not be on the field in one tight end sets in a lot of cases, and that will limit his upside dramatically. I still think he's a good talent. He's attached to Justin Herbert. He's got a great OC now, but he's got a lot of weapons around him that also need to eat. And if you're the second tight end in that offense, or sorry, this part of a two tight end committee because you can't block, that's severely limiting to the upside.
Yeah, with the only thing I can say about that with them signing Charlie Kohler was their offensive line was really bad. So
Oh, it's awful every year somehow.
I know, but I could actually just see him being the sixth offensive lineman and OG's still playing a lot because we still don't know if Keenan Allen's coming back. Trey Harris wasn't good. KLS, we'll see about
Probably
KLS.
didn't
He's
need
the
to get
goat.
mentioned.
But and then obviously they have Lad. So I still think he's going to play a ton. And then year two of his development. But Kyle Monangai, man, this is one of the uh pre would you say this was the best UDFA pickup?
No.
You think it'd be between him, OG2, and Bill?
Yeah. I'd
So
take
who
Gadsden for me.
you
Yeah, I'm
take
not
Gaston?
surprised Tyler would take Gadsden.
I mean, you would too.
I mean, yeah, technically you would too.
Let
Well,
me
you
check.
you had him ranked over
Yeah,
him.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Just let me look.
Also,
But
I mean,
go.
what?
Bill had more rushing yards and
Oh
more rushing
my.
touchdowns than Monangai.
Is that true?
He had over 800 yards and 8 touchdowns. Monangai had 783 yards and 5 touchdowns.
That's fair. But did he have a counterpart that went over 1,000 yards as well?
I
The
don't
answer
think
is no.
that's really relevant right now.
It's not. Either way, Monangai uh was awesome this year on a good offense. Um, had some blow up games. Definitely not someone you can start all the time, but a fun potential depth option moving forward.
Actually, you're right. I have Monangai on the next slide. I'm switching Monangai and Gadsden. I'd take Monangai over Gadsden.
Wow.
Awesome. Reedy or Tyler, you got any Monangai thoughts?
No Monangai thoughts. I will say it was funny just now when you said Trey Harris was bad, and then you said KLS. We'll see.
Well, yeah, because he didn't play, so
And
we'll
then didn't
see.
even mention Quentin Johnston somehow, but
Oh
KLS got a
yeah,
mention.
definitely forgot about. My bad about KJ or QJ and KJ. Getting into 208, we had Mason Taylor. This is where I had Aronde Gadsden, so we're all pretty similar. One away each. Oh yeah, Reed also switched live, so he
Yes,
has
this is
OG.
Gadsden.
Yeah. Oh, that means you didn't get to talk about the Monongai Meister, but
I echo everything you said.
awesome. And then this is where Tyler has Scattaboo, notably lower than Reed and I. We've already talked about everyone. My quick thoughts on Aronde Gadsden is he's good relative to fifth round draft capital, and he does have a path to being successful. We'll see what year two looks like, but um, definitely got overvalued halfway through the season. Um,
So
but
overvalued that someone might make a trade for him.
okay, we're not talking about that. But still, middle slash back end of the second round from undrafted is you'll take that anytime. Sorry, I don't know if I mentioned this was Mason Taylor, um, fellow rookie tight end. Um, and then do you have anything else to say about Gadsden?
Nope.
Awesome. And then Scatterboo being this low, Tyler, is it just an injury plus age thing?
It's so many things. Scottaboo's a player that I really couldn't be more out on. I think there's a real case in my brain to not include him here, which
Bruh.
maybe okay.
Bruh.
Just hold on. I was gonna follow that up with which would probably be irrational, but I just think Tyrone Tracy's been solid the last 2 years. Scatterboo was never this elite athlete as much as people wanna, you know, say how much they love watching him play or this, that, and the other, how tough a runner he is. He has not been an elite athlete ever. New coach coming in. Rumors of, a running back getting selected at pick 5 there. Until that happens, I guess I can't account for that. But I just I've never been a Scatterboo guy. Nothing about how last year went or where we're at now is making me feel that much more encouraged. Like I said, when you were talking about him, Cevan, if I don't think he sniffs 15 points per game ever in
That's
his
fine.
career again.
Can,
Um,
can I ask a question of something you already said?
yeah.
So Tyrone Tracy is so good that Cam Scatterboo takes all of his touches.
Yeah, Todd, that's
I'm,
kind of a terrible point. No offense. I guess some offense.
I mean, I have no doubt that maybe the Giants coaching staff liked Scatterboo more going into the season, but then he gets injured. Okay, Tracy fills in, and how much like his old self does Scatterboo look? That's hard to say. But at least right now in March, I don't know. I I think Tracy is a better running back than several people probably think, but that's
That's what
just
we
me.
said last year collectively, because I was on the Tracy train too. And then we got to like week 4, and it's like, okay, Tyrone Tracy doesn't play anymore.
Yeah, but I guess that's why I'm saying, what does Scatterboo look like coming off this injury, and what does
The,
a new coaching staff think as well, and do they bring in additional running back help? I was never in the Scatterboo camp, and I'm still not here. I would include him in this redraft more than likely. That was a little bit of bait when I said I was thinking about not including him, but uh,
the good news is as not a great of an athlete as he was before, is he still isn't going to be a great athlete after. So I don't know. I really just disagree with the Tracy point because who cares what we think if and again I agree with obviously they have a new coaching staff, but maybe Tracy gets the Brashard Smith role
That's not our
and
role.
and Scatterboo gets the Kareem Hunt role. So of the 2019 Kareem Hunt role. So that's all right though. What is this? 209? I can't
yeah,
read it. I think it's 209.
it
Jalen
is.
Milrow. Um, probably the second worst pick of the whole draft. Of the second round, sorry. Bad pick. Hindsight, he was always fun. I remember him getting hyped around draft time. Like, oh, we got a third round quarterback backing up Sam Darnold. That's gonna be awesome. And then they win the Super Bowl. So super
Who
irrelevant now, but
I'm still in on
uh
Jalen Milrow.
who would you guys rather have, Jalen Milrow or Will Howard?
Jalen Milrow.
Jalen Milrow.
It's not even close.
I'd rather have Will Howard.
I'm sure. Do we need to ask why, Tyler? Tyler,
Okay.
the second Jalen Milrow steps on the field, if he ever does as a starting quarterback, he becomes like a top 12 starting quarterback for fantasy.
Yeah, but
We
I
see
think
that's
Will
just the
Howard
biggest
has
projection of all time.
Yeah, of
I
course,
think
that's the point.
Will Howard has a better chance to step on the field is
That's
what
fair.
I'm thinking.
And Will Howard has a great chance to be quarterback 29 when he steps on the field.
That's
I
fair.
mean,
That's
it's
fair.
better than what Milrow will be. Actually, I forgot they have Mason Rudolph, so this
Yeah,
is a stupid conversation.
You're the one
I
who
agree.
brought up Will Howard.
Yeah,
We could have talked about him next slide.
I wish I didn't.
Well, this is where I have Mason Taylor, and the two of you have former first round pick of the rookie draft, Jaden Higgins. Um, Mason Taylor, let me look real quick. He was, just give me 1 second. Do, 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 do.
Could have
Tight end
prepped this
32.
before.
Oh, he was really bad. He had a couple games, but just inconsistent quarterback play. Um, but it was good to see he's super young and was on the field a ton as a rookie. So maybe with a veteran quarterback presence there.
Well, it's
Um,
okay. We know that Justin Fields was not holding back his pass catchers, right, Tyler? The
with
offense was
Geno
perfectly
Smith,
functional for the pass catchers when Justin Fields was in.
with Geno
All right.
Smith, Geno Smith has a history for 1 year of throwing to a great tight end. So maybe he'll write back, but he'll start riding to Mason Taylor this year.
Ooh.
Fine pick nonetheless. Um, I'm just this is
We're
one pick behind where he actually went, but cool tight end. Jaden Higgins, um, Tyler, talk about Iowa State quarterback slash wide receiver, Jaden Higgins.
Yeah, he was fine. I mean, he didn't have a terrible rookie year, but nothing spectacular either. He did catch 6 touchdowns over the season, which is a solid enough number. He saw double-digit targets in the divisional round against New England there, so maybe he developed a little bit more of a rapport at the end of the season with CJ Stroud, but um, I I still like Jaden Higgins, the player. I I don't think we have a complete idea on who he is yet. I know that's probably the case for most of these guys, but he's someone where I don't feel uh, overly compelled one way or the other about who he is as a player. I mean, I think we saw just enough last year to be enticed, but not necessarily enough to absolutely believe in. Maybe you have different thoughts, Reed.
No, I don't. I mean, this is again by this point in the redraft, we're getting on to pure projection players, and he and Jalen Noel both kind of went in and out of the lineup, but towards the end of the year, Jaden Higgins stuck in there more than Jalen Noel did, and I think there's a chance, I guess. Like I don't think he's anything special as a player. His underlying metrics were just kind of whatever last year. But again, that whole offense was kind of whatever for most of the year. So there's a chance
Yeah.
opposite Nico Collins to play in two wide receiver sets and be a big bodied red zone target, but don't have a lot of conviction one way or the other.
Yep, and the 210, Shadur Sanders, shout out Swirl. This is where I had Jaden Higgins. Reed has Mason Taylor, and Tyler has Dylan Sampson. We'll get to that. But Jaden Higgins, for me, the only thing I have to say is I think he'll probably end up being a better NFL wide receiver than fantasy receiver. Although I do see a path, but I think his path is going to take longer to be, someone you can call flex worthy at this point. But uh, I would say a fine upside play at this point in the draft. Obviously, we're in the end of the second round. Mason Taylor for you, Reed, without talking about Justin Fields.
I don't need to talk about Justin Fields. I wasn't the one who was saying he was a good quarterback. I think this is a good thing to talk about here. When you talk about him and how I got in trouble for trashing on Gadsden, if you switched Gadsden and Taylor's roles, Gadsden would be like a top 12 bona fide dynasty tight end. So the role Taylor has is a very valuable role. He's on the field a ton. He's doesn't have a ton of target competition. He probably got a quarterback upgrade. Honestly, I probably have him a little bit too low. Looking back, I'd probably put him above Jaden Higgins at least, but um, I think he's a perfectly okay player who has a really valuable role. So any upgrade to the offense, I think, could be really interesting for him. But again, you're just kind of taking an upside shot here at a tight end premiums player that's just a warm body, I guess.
Yeah. And now Tyler, just sell me on Dylan Sampson.
Yeah, I feel great about Dylan Sampson, and I know you guys scoffed at me for including him here, but Dylan Sampson, he was a fourth round pick, so still a day three running back. I understand that, but in my mind, that's at least a little bit different than fifth, sixth, or seventh round running back pick. He's still only 21, so he'll be 22 by the time the 2026 season rolls around here. And he was a perfectly fine pass catching back. I mean, in his first game, he had 8 receptions. He had a few other games of 5 receptions, and he showed some pass catching versatility. The Browns did not bring back Jerome Ford, and Jerome Ford had some solid games in 23 and 24, catching balls out of the backfield. So I don't see a real reason why Samson can't backfill that role in Cleveland. And, at least in this upcoming season, it seems like Cleveland will be down in most or all their games. And so I think that leaves work for Samson to pick up. And I'm not saying he'll be, the most sexy running back, but he'll provide PPR value, even if it's a little bit gross, a little bit Rashad White-esque, a little bit Jerome Ford-esque, and I think that's enough to, include him in this top 24 here at 210.
I will say you sold me a little bit more than just at face value, so congrats.
Let's go.
But while I was looking, he did have 3 negative point performances and never eclipsed 30 rushing yards. Oh, that's a lie. He did once.
That's
But
fine.
I'm sorry. I think I'd be more intrigued by Rocket Sanders taking the Jerome Ford role.
I'm going to be honest,
We're really toward the Jerome Ford role, really.
no, also he just wanted to say Rocket Sanders.
It's
That's
his
fair.
name.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah. I mean, okay, Jerome Ford was viable in 23 and 24.
But we're not talking
Yeah.
about those years. We're talking about 25, right?
But I'm saying, no, we're talking about Dylan Sampson.
We're talking about
I'm
Dylan
s-
Sampson and the role that Jerome Ford when they were together.
Yeah, I don't think they're very similar though, so I don't think you can just throw.
How are they not very similar? Jerome Ford
Well,
was a
we don't even
is a
know what Dylan Sampson can do. Well, he all did is catch a few passes a few times.
Cevan, did you know that Dylan Sampson had more receiving yards than Trevion Henderson did this year?
Is that
I
true?
Yes,
Did he
207 to
have more receptions
197.
though?
the Browns haven't brought in anyone else to their running back room, I don't believe. And sure, maybe they'll draft someone, but someone else is going to be in that backfield besides Judkins, and I think Sampson has plenty of juice. He seems like a viable running back in my
That
mind.
that's fine. He just wasn't one of the names on my list for these last few spots.
Yep.
But none of these are for any of us, so um the 211 second to last pick of the second round, this is where Will Howard went. Arguably, never mind. It's not.
Yes, just say it. We're all thinking it. Say it.
No, 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 no. Will Howard, yeah. This bad pick in hindsight, droppable. It doesn't matter. We're at the back of the second, so it doesn't matter. This is where I have Pat Bryant. This is where Reed has Chimray DK, and Tyler has Jalen Noel.
So I'm putting Pat Bryant here after they just traded for Jalen Waddle is just ass. Come on, man.
We're also at the back end of the second round
Yeah, and there's
when
like
we're
7 other names who are going to play at like significantly more than him this year.
like
Just
Trevor
because it's the back end
Etienne.
of the second round doesn't mean you can just throw whatever Joe Schmo
Uh,
you want up there.
well, he threw some Joe Schmoes that are on his team.
That's what I'm
Like,
saying.
like Woody Marks.
Don't think anyone has Woody
Like,
Marks on the list.
okay. Anyways, uh, yeah, back of the second round, we're just poking at hairs here, pulling hairs, maybe. I don't know. Former mid
You
fourth
devaluing the
round
back of the
pick.
second round as a way to just throw your guys in there is bad. Come on, man.
Poking
That's all
at
right.
hairs.
You threw in a scrimmage yard merchant, by the way.
Okay, I'm not getting him for his kick return yards, so we're good.
Uh, anyways, yeah, I had Pat Bryant, Chim DK, and Jalen Noel. Yeah, just a receiver who, for me, I do know they just traded for Jalen Waddle, but a receiver who they looked like towards the end of the season they were wanting to get more involved. He just got concussed in every first quarter of the last like 5 games, so
Wow.
his career is probably
That's
almost over.
that's very Jalen Waddle-esque of him.
Not to
Yeah,
mention now he's at 211 despite having 5 concussions in 5 games in a row.
yes. I can't even find. Did DK get drafted?
Yes. No. I don't know, honestly. I don't really care.
I
I,
don't.
I, I care about now.
Well, I was just trying to look up this thing, but yeah, talk about him.
He's a Titans wide receiver too. He came on towards the back end of the year. Wandale mostly works inside.
He's not the Titans wide receiver too, by the way.
Okay, who is?
Uh, Probably Calvin Ridley.
Oh, okay. Do you remember what kind of terrible injury he came off of last year?
Nope,
I just,
but
And
I think
restructure his contract to make a lot less money.
that's fine. I
I
think
think Alex
I'll.
is a wide receiver too.
Do you want to bet that right now? If Ridley's on the team, he is
Really
a
already
better.
restructured his contract to stay on the team.
Okay, so
You want to bet
2020.
point
Yes,
fantasy
that.
points per game, minimum 8 games played.
Correct. Yeah, deal.
Done.
That's
Ridley versus DK, right?
can I
Yes.
can I get in there with Isle Manor?
No. Actually, yes.
Yes,
Actually,
yes,
yes.
yes,
We're
yes,
doing
yes.
this.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah. So I got Ridley, you got DK, you got Io Manor.
Done.
Okay.
Done.
Yeah, I don't have a lot else to say. He had a good back half of the year, started taking up some targets, obviously, at least somewhat interesting with the ball in his hand, given he's a pretty solid kick returner. And the Titans just got a new logo, which is pretty sick. So um
Oh yeah.
overall, we're at the back of the second round, so none of this actually matters. I didn't actually try. I just threw names in there that I liked. So here we are.
Yes. Wait, let's talk about DK. What did he do? He had 74 oh, they were scam targets.
I don't know what that means.
Well, it means he didn't catch many of them.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair. I can't fight with that one. Just a second. Yeah, I'll look up a DK thing. Go to Tyler and then come back to me.
Okay, Tyler, talk about sell me on Noel. You already sold me on Samson.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about one of these Texan receivers breaking out, maybe both to a degree. But the big thing here is Christian Kirk isn't with Houston anymore. And I know Christian Kirk wasn't elite or anything last year, but he was running a fair bit of routes from the slot. And I think Jalen Noel, didn't he had a fair amount of snaps his rookie year, but I think with Christian Kirk gone, Noel will be able to run a lot more routes from the slot there, and that'll result in some more targets. We saw something of a not necessarily a breakout, but something close to a breakout in week 7 and 8. When he was at 7 and 6 targets, he was above 11 fantasy points in both those games. So I feel like I saw just enough from Noel there, and then Christian Kirk no longer being on the Texans helps his case, and I don't think they will really look to find any more high value wide receivers. So I like Noel right now, and just enough to sneak him in here at 211.
My only pushback with your week 7 and 8 breakout is Nico got concussed in week 7 and missed week 8. I agree with your Christian Kirk point. I'm just throwing this name out there, but Tank Dell is still a human, and I feel like those two would cut into each other more than anybody else. So that's again back in the second, so it doesn't even matter. You're just getting your guys, but
Yeah, I don't think I don't think that's fair.
okay. Look, tell me your Chim DK stat.
He was wide receiver 37 last year from weeks 12 to 18.
Okay, so the last pick, 212.
That's probably better than Pat Bryant.
Wouldn't surprise me. He had 5 concussions in 5 weeks.
That's true. Jack Besh was 12. Um, sorry, the 212. I have Caleb Johnson here. Reed has Bill Krosky Merritt, and Tyler has Kyle Williams.
Can I go first
Um,
here? Can I go
yeah,
first?
yep.
I actually think somehow, some way, we've actually come to like underrate what Bill did last year. Like, obviously, I was not one of the people that was in on the camp hype like some people, but like for a 23 or 24-year-old rookie, 800 yards and 8 touchdowns for a seventh round pick and an undrafted rookie pick was actually like a super profitable year. I mean, he had 2, 3 spike weeks. Like, yeah, a lot of it wasn't very fun. He basically no receiving profile at all. Like, he literally had no targets after their bye week in the last 6 weeks of the season. So, like, yes, but what if he's actually like okay and like maybe it's a lot better than both of your guys' names here. So I'm perfectly okay with having Bill here for an 800-yard rookie season and 8
Yeah.
touchdowns.
If they go into 2026 with the running back room they have and a healthy Jaden Daniels for this season, I could see him at least at worst replicating, but probably being better in a better offense. So got no qualms with Bill making the cut. Tyler, Kyle Williams.
Yeah, just real quick with Bill.
Yep.
I feel like next year's going to be the grossest of gross committees. They have Jerome Ford, Rashad White,
Oh,
and
we're talking about
Jeremy.
Jerome Ford twice now on the
Yeah,
pod.
the aforementioned Jerome Ford. Uh, sh it's possible that one of those guys isn't on the roster to start the year, but yeah, I mean, Bill was very good at a limited skill set, and that was not catching the ball. That was early down running, and that's not the most profitable for fantasy. And so I don't know. He was on the cusp here, and I know you guys have ridiculed me before for my belief in Bill Krosky Merritt that I didn't include him here. I thought I was going to be called a homer, but
I mean,
evidently you did have him. So
you did put Kyle Williams, who again had like 9 catches last year, so you probably would have been better off putting Bill here. But
well,
like
Probably.
again, Bill is 23rd overall in the NFL in rushing yards, 15th in rushing yards over expected, and 15th in rushing yards over expected per
mhm.
attempt. Like again, this is like not a bad runner of the football.
No,
So, and again, even if you think there's a 100% chance they take Jeremiah Love if he's there, there's also a significant chance he's not there when they pick. So, like, who are they going to add? Like, even if you only think that's like a 20 or 30% chance that they don't add a significant running back, there's still a 20 or 30% chance that Bill could be the best runner in the backfield of an offense that was really good in 2024. So,
yeah, he
I
might
kind of
have.
talked myself into, I think he should be higher. Tyler, is he available?
I'd say he's available.
Okay,
I
I'll
think
send you a trade.
you kind of convinced me to. Kyle Williams here is probably a little bit wrong in my mind. I was just thinking, okay, you have a guy who can be a corner one-on-one down the sideline and catch those balls. And if he's doing this his rookie year, the Patriots, maybe they have some room for some pass catchers to emerge. Kyle Williams was a third round pick. I was just thinking, okay, if he can display that he has the speed to beat corners one-on-one down the sideline, maybe they can work with him a bit, improve his route tree, and get him some more looks going into 2026. But that's a lot of wishful thinking compared to what's already happened with Bill. So, yeah, I probably shouldn't have Kyle Williams here. Maybe Bill spot, maybe Mason Taylor, who I also didn't include, but I still feel relatively optimistic about Kyle Williams. Just maybe it shouldn't be reflected in this 212 pick.
I just like that he's higher than where you actually picked him in the draft
Hmm
11 months ago.
Yeah.
How many
Yeah, and
catches
that
do you think he had last year, Tyler?
Kyle Williams, I
Yeah.
just looked at this. Is it? I think it's 10.
Yeah, it is 10. I had no idea when I was saying 9. I was just shooting from the hip. I thought he would be like 20, but
Yeah.
he was not.
Yeah, and that brings us to Mr. Irrelevant. I had Caleb Johnson. He had less total fantasy points than games played. Was healthy scratch by the end of the year. Didn't do anything. Um, couldn't pass block. Caught one pass. Had over 20 yards once. Negative yards once. Wasn't great. Just threw him in here because he's still young and not an insignificant draft capital. We'll see. Not too high on the Steelers offense or the Steelers in general, but and they just brought in Rico, so
You
and they have Jalen Warren. So not a positive outlook on Caleb's future, but
you know what he
uh,
was though, right?
what?
He was BPA by position.
It's true. Hard to argue with that
Correct.
logic.
That is. And with that being said, that is our redraft. That was fun. A look back at about a year ago to see where our minds were and what actually went on in the NFL season. So
Yeah, I don't have.
Not a very smooth outro there, Mokas.
I'm not the outro meister.
Well, no, typically you'll say something and then you'll ask us for any final thoughts.
Oh yeah, do you guys have any final thoughts?
Not really.
Oh, okay. No, I don't have any
I
final
do.
thoughts. I enjoyed the activity. I thought that was really fun. I did.
Yes.
I honestly, we disagreed a lot more than I thought we would, which I find that interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all about perspective, man. But if that wraps up the fantasy talk, if you did make it this far,
You're a
uh,
real one.
yeah, you are a real one. But reminder, league dues, we got 4 people: Schrader, Sandy, Cam Thorne, and Deshaun. If you are listening, $100 due by the draft, or we'll pause the draft at your pick. So in other words, the draft won't start
I
until
think
at
that's
least
I
someone.
think that's a threat to us, not to them, because if they don't
Well,
pay, they're not paying attention.
fair enough. Well, it'll get
Oh,
done.
gosh. Okay.
About a month
Well,
away.
thank you for listening, everybody. We will see you next week.